Hey folks, Red Specs Gaming here, and I figure we should take a little bit of time here and discuss Bewitchment. Bewitchment is a mod that's all about potions and hexes and rituals and all kinds of things witchcraft, basically. Figure we'll do just a kind of a overview of what is in the mod. I'll give you some of the basics, go in depth in a few things, and then you can have at it and go out there and live out your Harry Potter dreams, I guess. So, let's get started. Okay, so when you're going to start out in this mod, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run around and break grass, basically. And what you're looking to get is there's 4 seeds specifically that you're going to want for starting out. One is the Mandrake seed, the Belladonna seed, the Aconite seed, and some garlic. So these are the 4 kind of herbs that you're going to be using in a lot of your potion craft. So make sure you run out, you find those. What I like to do, depending on what you have in the mod pack you're playing, is find a good spot to plant them. In this mod pack, we have these supplementary rich soil planters, and plant them seeds in there and start bone mealing the heck out of it until you get a lot of these herbs, because you're going to use them for your potions, like I said. So once you've got a bunch of those, they kind of look like this. You've got Mandrake, you've got Belladonna, you've got Aconite, and then of course garlic kind of just looks like itself. The other things you're going to want to find, you're going to want to mine up some salt ore, because you'll be using salt for various things. And you're going to want to mine up some of the Bewitchment specific silver ore. And then you're going to make silver ingots, because you're going to use a lot of that for stuff. And then finally, you're going to want to run around the world, and you're going to want to find these 4 specific trees, because you'll be using the bark and or the wood from these for different things. When it comes to powering your altar later, you're going to probably want these trees around, because, you know, we'll get into that when we get into altars, but variety is important, and these work towards your variety multiplier for your altar power. So this is a juniper, looks like that. This is a cypress, kind of looks like that. This is an elder leaf or elder tree, looks like that. And then this is the yew tree. Something to be aware about yew, this seems to be the most rare one to find, in my opinion. When these spawn naturally in the wild, they come with a nasty monster that we'll talk about when we get into our book a little bit, that often spawns with these. So just be aware when you find this tree, you may have a fight on your hands to get the wood and get the saplings from it. I know in this pack, for some reason, these leaves don't decay when you break this, so be prepared for that. But anyways, what I did was, we're playing medieval Minecraft, I had to actually kind of get a high bird's eye view sometimes to spot the difference in the leaves, because I wasn't good at seeing it from ground level, especially on this guy. He was in a lot of trees that kind of look similar, and so I wasn't picking it out, but when I got up above, I could really see that forest green pop out amongst the other leaves. So take a look around for that stuff, get all that, collect all of your herbs and all of your minerals, and find your trees so you get some saplings of those. And then after that, you're ready to go. You're ready to start. And the first thing you're going to want to craft is a Book of Shadows, it's called. And you can see that that is one of your mandrakes that you should have already grown, and a book. Put that in, pull out your Book of Shadows. So the Book of Shadows is kind of a progression thing. You'll see there's a lot of stuff that's locked in here. And as you do different things through Bewitchment, different chapters will unlock, and different things within the chapters will unlock. And this will tell you all about everything that you need. Basically, it kind of breaks down everything. So it'll tell you about the different trees that we just did, the salt, the different herbs, things that you're going to need in there. Once you have a Book of Shadows, then the next thing, let's go back to tools, and it'll start telling you about the different tools that you're going to want. And there's a lot of stuff in here to find. But what you would want to do is you're going to probably start here before you make that, and that's going to be making you an athame. An athame is just a silver ingot and a flint, and think of this as your ritualistic tool here, right? So this is what you'll do a lot of stuff in the rituals with. The other thing about an athame is if you have some bottles in your offhand, so let's get some bottles. Put those in our offhand, and then let's get a villager here. A villager spawner. And if we put the bottles in our offhand, where are we at? There, duh. And we put our villager. You find a villager, and this will work with any humanoid. You can do pillager, illagers as well, but any kind of humanoid, and you murder them with your Athame. No running. What'll happen is one of your bottles will fill with blood, and so you will also use this for various things throughout the mod. So that's how you get blood, is with your Athame. The other thing about the Athame is if you come to most trees, I don't know about a lot of different modded trees, but I know all of the vanilla trees and the bewitchment trees, and you right click, U does not count, but you right click on these, you see how we strip the bark in place. So you can come and you can do this, and this is how you're going to get the various barks off of these trees. So now I've got juniper, and I've got cypress, and I've got birch. And so this is a handy tool that you're going to need for your bewitchment. After that, the next thing you're going to probably want to do is craft one of these. And this is your witch's cauldron. So that's some silver ingots, that's some birch bark, that's a regular vanilla cauldron, and bam, now you have a witch's cauldron. And you're going to take the witch's cauldron and you're going to put it over a fire. What I use right now myself, and works really well, is a magma block. But you may not have that early on. You can do it over a campfire or over lava even. But you put that over a heat source like that. And then let's get some water. You take you a bucket of water and put it in there. And then give that just a moment. And it will, as you see, start boiling. And then now you can start brewing up potions. And we'll cover brewing in a second completely, but this is just how you get started with getting your cauldron up and running and ready to go. And then finally, the last kind of starter thing that you're going to make is an altar. And altars come in lots of different flavors. If you do altar, if you can spell, you can see there's all these bewitchment altars. Some of these are from other mods, but there's different looks to the altars. Doesn't really matter. That's all just a preference. They all work the same. There's no benefit to, say, the obsidian altar over the prismarine altar. That it's just a cosmetic choice. And so just go with whatever you have. Personally, I'm a fan of the obsidian altar. So I think I'll pull that out here, because I'll be working with that from now on. But you got an obsidian altar, or any altar really. You set that down, and then you're going to put any carpet that you want over it. Again, that is a choice that you have. I like the red personally. Bam, and now you've got an altar that's ready to go. And then this will provide you with what's called magical energy, or ME, to do various things. Like there are some things that you craft, there are some things that you will need the magic energy for. Brooms, which we'll talk about later. For flight, we'll burn the ME that's stored in this. And more specifically, there are various rituals, which I'll be covering separately as well, that you will do that will burn the magic energy from this. So these are all your basic starter tools for bewitchment. That's how you get all the things, and that's how you're ready to get started. Okay, so once you've got your basic tools set up and you're ready to go, you're going to want to get into brewing next, because it's kind of like this is the next step in your progression. If you look at your book, look at the main section here, there's a section on brewing, and it will just kind of talk to you about how you make brews. Brews are kind of interesting because you start with a mandrake root and then you add ingredients, and different ingredients give different effects. So you can kind of make like a multi-buff brew out of it. Like you can add spider eye and it'll give you wall climbing, and you can add a fish and it'll give you breathing. And so you can kind of make a potion that does multiple things. But the thing is the more ingredients you add, the more spell power you're going to need. And so that's going to be your altar, which we're going to talk about after this section. However, in this part here, what you're really interested in making are these elemental oils. And these you can do without spell power. These kind of represent the different elements: fire, water, earth, air. You have, let me get back there. You have a cleansing balm, which is made with elderbark, salt, and garlic. You've got a grim elixir, which is a snake tongue, cypress, belladonna, aquacerate, which is cod, birch, and kelp. You've got a fiery serum, which is coal, oak, and poppy. You've got earth ichor, which is stone, spruce bark, and aconite. And then you've got a heaven extract, which is a feather, juniper, and mandrake root. And you're going to need a bunch of these for different things that you're going to do with the altar, different rites you're going to perform, and other things. And so this is kind of your next step that you're going to want to do, is make a bunch of these different oils, these essential oils. And I've laid out some stuff in here so I can show you basically how this is done. So let's just make one of these initial cleansing balms. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up to your pot that's boiling, and be careful, because if you're in survival, hot water does burn baby and it will hurt you. So take your 3 ingredients and toss them in the water. And if you're doing it right, the color won't go brown. If the color goes brown, you did something wrong. But if the color changes to the color of the potion you think, then you've got the right thing. And once that's done, then you can come over here with your glass bottles. Bam, bam, bam. And you should have 3 of these cleansing balms now. And these are basically what you're going to need for the next step, which is us messing around with our altar, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But the next thing I do want to cover is power, and how you power your altar, because that's a pretty complicated subject. So let's get into that. Okay, so the first thing that we will have to discuss is the altar itself. And that is that the altar itself is just a focal point for all your magical energy, your ME. When I right click on it, you see it's got 0 out of 0 energy in it right now, and it's got a 1x gain multiplier. What that means is this thing doesn't actually store any energy on its own without other things involved. Quick editor correction here. The altar does in fact store magical energy. It's just right now, in this point in the video, we haven't added any trees or nature around it for it to be able to pull energy from. So it is showing 0 out of 0. Just be aware, it will in fact store your energy. And it's gaining at basically one point of magical energy per tick when the time comes. So what do we do with it? Well, we need to there's 3 adornments that we need to add on to it. And the first adornment, they call them wands, but really they're just light sources. So think about items that are light sources. And what that'll do is that'll kind of give it an internal flat buffer, right? So right now it's got nothing in it, but if we put a light source on it like a torch, it'll get a little bit inside it that it doesn't need to get from the outside environment. It'll get that straight from the adornment. So let's talk about the wands. You've got 3 flavors of wands. You've got the weak, the average, and the strong. All of these here on the weak, that's your your torch, through your soul torch. You've got lanterns, and then you've got the iron candelabra. These will all give you 40, just a flat 40 internal buffer. Then your average would be your silver and your gold candelabras. These will give you 80 flat buffer. And then the strong, that's going to be your netherite candelabra, your end rod, or your scepter, which is a demon drop, which you'll have to kill one of the demons to get that. That'll give you 120. So let me go into survival mode here real quick, and I'll show you an example. So if we pop this guy off, we pop that guy off, and we pop that guy off. If we start with, I already had one in there. If we start with this guy, when we right click on it, you can see now we're gaining 40 from this. And the flashing bar on the left is your internal buffer, not the altar's internal buffer. That's you gaining energy from the altar, because that's what the altar does, is it gives you energy. So when you're near it, you'll gain magical energy yourself. So you can see right now, this is picking up energy, and it'll zero out every now and then. That's because it's feeding that energy to you. But it allows it to gain 40 ME right now because of that torch, and we're only gaining it 1 per tick, and basically it looks like you get to about 7 or 8 and it feeds it to you, something like that, until your buffer itself is filled up. See, we just lost it again. So there's that. But if you swap that out, if you click another one on here, it'll get rid of it. Swap that out with the silver candelabra, which is one of the average wands. We've jumped up to 80. And then if we swap that out with the netherite one, we've jumped up to 120. So that's going to be your best bet, either that or the end rod or the scepter, for gaining what just a flat internal buffer, meaning this guy can now store 120 magical energy. So the second thing we have to talk about is the pentacle that goes on there. And then what the pentacle controls is that multiplier there, that 1x. That's how quickly you're gaining that energy. So right now, every time I click on this, you see it's going up by 1 until it drains out into me. But you can see it goes up by 1, goes up by 1, goes up by 1. We can improve that with the pentacles. And so again, just like with the wands, you have a weak, a strong, or a weak, an average, and a strong pentacle. On the weak side, you have gems like diamonds, emeralds, and quartz. You've got zombie heads, skeleton skulls, creeper heads, and player heads. All of these will gain you, show you real quick. We put that on there, a 2x multiplier. So you can see now, every time we click, we're getting 2 instead of 1. So that's pretty good. But if you jump up to the wither skull or a demon heart, which of course you'll have to kill a demon to get that, if we put that on there now instead, that'll replace that. Now we're gaining 3 times. So every time we click, we get 3 times. And then of course, once you've been to the end, you can put the dragon head on there. Instead of that, you're going to be gaining 5 times. So this will really fill up fast with a dragon's head. The third adornment on here is the sword that you're going to put on here. And once again, those come in 3 varieties. You've got your stone, your wood, and your iron. That's your weak version. You've got gold, diamond, and the athame. That is going to be your average version. And then you've got the netherite, you've got the caduceus, and you've got the horn spear. These 2 come off of demons again. These are your strong versions. And the way these work is, this is a little complex, but I'll explain it as simply as I can, is these apply a multiplier to whatever value the altar sees of naturally existing blocks in the environment around it. It will scan up to 15 blocks in all directions. It'll look for anything that is considered a plant block, anything that is considered a mushroom block, or anything that is considered fertilizable. And if it's a plant block and it's a log, it has to not be stripped. Okay, so naturally, like that, no stripped. If that was stripped, it'll throw it out. It doesn't count grass blocks, and it doesn't count nylium blocks. It looks for those, and it pulls together a count of how many it sees those. We'll call that the number of blocks that we're seeing. When it finds that value, what it's going to do then is it's going to multiply that times what it's calling a variety multiplier. So the variety multiplier, what that is of those blocks that it found, how many sets of those blocks are 4 or more. So if it sees 4 oak logs, that's 1 set. If it sees 4 spruce logs, that's another set. If it sees 4 rose bushes, that's another set. And it's going to take those and it's going to multiply those by each other to get a variety multiplier. What you really need to know here, though, is you need 15 sets, at least, well, max 15 sets. It's up to a max of 15 sets, because in the end, it's going to give you a max variety multiplier of 4. So as long as you have 4 different types of blocks, 15 different types of blocks that have 4 or more in that set, you can max out your variety multiplier to 4. So then you've got that. And then after that, it's going to take the sword that you have on your altar, and whether it's the weak, the average, or the strong version of it. In our case, we've got the netherite here, so that's going to give us the strong version. And we're just going to go with that. That's a 1.3 multiplier. And so you take that, and then it takes that whole value and it divides it by 10. And then that gives you the block contribution around the altar, which it adds to the base value, which in our case, because we have the netherite candelabra, that's 120. So in my case, I've got a bunch of blocks here. I've got 128 total, and I've got more sets here than I needed. So they don't actually contribute. Anything past the 15 sets doesn't contribute to that variety multiplier. So in my case, I've got 32 different types of blocks here, and we only needed 15. So you're going to take the 128, you're going to multiply it times 4, which is the max variety multiplier that you can get using 15 of these sets. You're going to multiply that times our 1.3, which is our sword value. You're going to divide the whole thing by 10, and you're going to end up with 66.5 points that all of these blocks are adding into our altar. And then on top of our 120 from the candelabra, we're at 186. And to prove the set situation, you can see we've got, like I said, we've got 32 different types of blocks here. I have this little setup over here where I very specifically stopped at 15 sets. So over here you can see I've got the yew log, the juniper leaves, the oak leaves, the oak log, so on and so forth. There's 15 different sets here of 4. And then after that I just spammed oak logs over here to get me a total of 128 blocks within range of this altar. You can see still 186. So really what you're looking for, the simple short answer, the TLDR, is get you 15 different types of blocks that you put 4 of each type in there and then just spam something else. And after that, you'll max this out. So we can just keep adding oak as long as it's within the range here, and we'll just keep creating the number that we need to max this guy out. So let's update it. You can see now it's at 207. And so that's what we would do, is just keep piling it up. Okay, so one more add-on to what I was saying before about spamming blocks to fill in the rest. There is a maximum of 256 for any given block type. So we spam cypress logs here, but we can only spam up to 256 of them to contribute to the total cost. So to figure that out, to max out, you're going to need at most 850 for any given ritual that you're going to do. Quick correction, 850 seems to be, I think, the base mod. There are add-on mods where that can be more expensive, but the same principles apply. So if you can get your altar up to 850 or more, you're good to go. Anything you want to cast, you can cast. That said, you're going to need 6 different types. So I have yew, cypress log, elder leaf, and then over here I just spammed pumpkins. 256 of each type, plus the original 60 from the 15 types adding into our total variety. And so that puts me at 949. Obviously I didn't need as many of those as I wanted to, but you have that there. The other thing is that a lot of times it's going to be really hard figuring this out, because this is going to pull from the natural environment around your base area where this is. So any trees, any flowers, any long grass, any of that stuff you've got out there in the wild, it's going to add to this. The problem with that is I always make changes around my base. I cut trees down, or I clean the grass off, or whatever, and I will do it without even thinking about it. So I have a problem leaving the natural environment as what's going to put this number here. So honestly, what I'm going to do in my survival series is I'm going to build basically a giant block of logs underneath where my summoning circle is going to be, where my the other part of this mod, the rituals, where the ritual circle is going to be, and I'm going to call it my altar vault, basically, and just bury it in there. You could build this natural, make it look nice, depending on the pack you're playing it in. In this pack, lightning hits a lot, so I'd be afraid to have this on the surface, because it would get hit by lightning and burn down, which is why I want to bury it, I think. But, however you figure out you want to do it, that's what you're going to need. You're going to need 15 types of 4 blocks each, and then you're going to need another 6 types of 256 blocks each. And then, well, it doesn't have to be a full 6, but we'll just go with that to keep it even. And that'll get you the max amount of magical energy that you need in your altar to do anything that you want to do in the Bewitchment mod. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover are rituals. And there's a lot involved with rituals, but since this is a basics video, we're just going to cover 2 rituals, just to kind of give you an idea of how rituals work. So rituals start by coming into your book, and if you look at the ritual section and you read through it, it'll kind of give you an idea of what's going on. But there is the glyph visualizer in here, and you can click that, and what that does is that gives you a circle. This is your ritual circle, and you can place that wherever you want that, but you want to keep it closest to your altar because it's going to use power from the altar that you've been generating. And so if I click it into place, it's really just a visualizer is all it is. It just tells you where things go. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to make some chalk, and chalk is done by taking any kind of bark and burning it on a campfire, and so you'll get wood ash. And then you're going to take the other bark and you're going to mix it with things. So there's 4 kinds of chalk. There's the white chalk, which is just wood ash, stone, and bark. The gold chalk, which is going to be one of the cleansing balms and one of the earth ichors mixed with the white chalk. Those you do in your brewing, and then you mix them here, which is why we started with brewing. And then you're going to do fiery serum, heaven extract, and white chalk to make the fiery chalk. And then to make the eldritch chalk, it's going to be grim elixir, aquacerate, and white chalk. And so you're going to make these chalks because different rituals are going to require different colored chalks on this outside circle. So if we take our chalks, let's say, real quick, and depending on what you're going to be doing. So we're going to talk about one of the real simple ones to start with. You'll have rituals in here, and more will unlock depending on what you do. Like if you've been to a nether fortress, some of this stuff unlocks. You'll find hellhounds in the nether. If you kill them, you can get demon horns. More stuff will unlock. And then when you summon your first demon and kill him, you get a demon heart. Even more stuff unlocks. So those are the kinds of things that you're going to be looking to do to unlock the rest of this book. But we're going to talk about the sunrise one because it's a simple one to do. And if you look at it, it shows you what kind of circle you've got to deal with here. A lot of times it's really hard to see these, especially with the shaders and stuff, but really you can see just a white circle and then a gold line in the middle. And so that's how you're going to want to set up. You're going to use one guy here, and you'll notice these change glyphs. That doesn't seem to matter. It's just as long as the circle exists, you can put anything you want in there. That doesn't really matter. I imagine they had plans, or they have plans in the future to change that, but right now it's just that. And then you can put this one here, and you can see this is much darker than that because that's just the visualization. You can turn that on and off if you want. If you go in here and go back to your ritual in here, for example, you can turn that off. I like to leave it on because it kind of shows me where these things should be. So we've got a gold in the middle, and that'll always be the case, I think, and then a white circle, and that's what this one requires. So let's set our time to night. And so we're at night now, and then the point of this ritual is to make daytime. That's the whole point of this ritual. So if you look at it, sunrise. You got a white circle and a gold item here. It's going to cost you 150 of your magical energy, and then it's going to want a cleansing balm and a gold ingot to complete. And what you do, in this version anyways, it used to be, it looked like they floated around here, but in this version, the 119 version, you just toss it in there. As long as it's within the inner circle, right? This is within the inner circle. We've got those items in here. When you right-click this, the ritual will do its thing. You'll get your particles, and boom, and now it's daytime. And so that's really the basics of rituals. Just toss the stuff that goes in there. You're going to right-click on that guy, and the ritual will complete. Okay, so I wanted to cover this and one other ritual, and before the end here. This is specific to pets. So there are different animals in that come into play with this mod. And you can look in the creature section in the book, and it talks about all of them. And lots of them can be made into familiars. So let's talk about the cat familiar. It's just a cat, basically. But the different pets give you different things when you have him as a familiar. So to get a familiar, you have to first tame the animal like you normally would, and then you create what's called a tag lock. And a tag lock you'll see used for various different things throughout the mod, especially if you're doing player versus player stuff. You'll be tag locking each other so that you can cast hexes and things on each other. A tag lock is just a bottle and a bone, and it gives you a tag lock. And then what you have to do is you have to get a sample from the subject of your spell. In this case, we want the cat, and for the for the animals, you just sneak up behind them and then right click them with the tag lock, and then you'll get a tag lock, which is a sample of them. For players, you would sneak up to the bed that they're using and you would click on that, and that's like, I guess, getting like hair and skin samples of that person, and then that's the thing that is going to identify the subject of your spell. And so if you look at your book again, what we're going to do is we're going to bind this cat as our familiar. And so to do that, we have to look at the ritual of binding. And the ritual of binding, you can't do until after you've actually done a demon. So I'm kind of doing these out of order, but I just wanted to show this one first. So for that, you need a tag lock of your subject, which we just made. That's this tag lock here. You need a demon's heart, you need a mandrake root, and you need ectoplasm. Okay? And so just like with the other, we're going to take one of these, and I actually need some mandrake. Let me get some mandrake root. Okay. And the wall and the salt we don't need for this particular ritual. We'll be using that in a moment, and I'll show you why I did that in a moment. But if you take that tag lock and you toss it into the circle, and you toss the demon heart, and you toss ectoplasm, and you toss mandrake, when you right click on this, you get your spell effects, and the ritual completes. So now if we look at the kitty has sparkles on him, and that means he's our familiar now. So from him, we actually will get phantoms won't come near us, and creepers won't come near us now that he is our familiar. And that's pretty cool. And so a lot of these also help. I think they're supposed to help with rituals, so maybe they make you use less magic. I'm not 100% sure on that. It does say something about that in there. Helps with rituals. So, you know, different animals have different things, and so that's how you make a familiar. Okay, so this ritual is where the salt line becomes important. The wall isn't important for the ritual, but the wall will make things easier for you, which you'll see in a moment. And this is, like I said, after you've gone to the nether and you've got a demon horn from killing a hellhound. You'll come in here, you'll have your red circles, your 2 red circles, and you'll toss the diamond, the snake tongue, the horn, the aconite, and the belladonna in the center. And now if you click on this, it's going to say, oh, hey, this ritual needs a proper sacrifice. So this isn't a click one. This is a sacrifice one, which is why I wanted to show this in particular. So this is where you'd bring a villager or an illager, some kind of humanoid. You'd put them in there, and then with your athame, you're going to murder said person. And this is where the wall becomes important because they want to run. And you don't want to get extra things in your circles because that can mess up your ritual. So if you put that in there, it could mess it up. But once he's dead, bam, now you have a demon. And then I'm going to take this wall out real quick because I want to show you what happens when you summon a demon. So we're going to go into game mode, survival. You'll see that the demon wants to murder me, and they will murder you. Okay, so now we're going to go back into creative real quick. But the good thing is the salt line keeps them contained in the circle. However, as mentioned in the book, when you look at the chapter on summoning demons, you can make a set of besmirched armor. And besmirched armor, there's a whole set of instructions in here how to make besmirched wool and make the besmirched armor. I'm going to just take it out here. Each piece. Right? And then when you wear besmirched armor, so let's do that. If we put it in the right spots. You're a wizard, Harry. When you're wearing besmirched armor, let's go back into survival. Now if we walk up to the demon, and right click on them, hey, they will trade with you. And then that's when they get into contracts. And I'll let you look through the book and the mod to see what the contracts do. But these basically give you different buffs and different things you can do. You can trade them some health. They get a contract. It lasts for a certain number of days. And, you know, they're different kind of buffs, different kind of abilities. The higher demons give better things. And that's basically that. Once you've got them in here, though, then you can murder them. They're not going to be so easy to kill, right? See? Once you've attacked them, then they know. But if you got good weapons and stuff, you can easily kill them, and then you get your demon heart, and then you're good from there. Lastly, be aware that there's a lot more to this mod than just what I've covered here. I just tried to cover the basics and the mechanics so that some of the stuff are demystified, because it can be a little complex sometimes. But no, if you look in your Book of Shadows and your tools, there's all kinds of toys that you can make, all kinds of other things that you can do. There's all kinds of rituals and the different contracts. I didn't even talk about poppets, which are like voodoo almost, that you can mess with. You can look through the book, it'll explain it all. I mean, my favorite thing so far is the broom. So if we look at the ground and we put a broom down that you can craft using magical energy that from your altar, it gives you flight. So now we are cruising along on our broom. So I hope that helped. I hope it gets you where you need to be in the mod. And yeah, and you're flying around and casting spells and hexes all on your own now. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button down below. Maybe subscribe to the channel. I will be doing more mod explanations as I find them in the packs that I'm playing, and kind of starting to understand that. And until next time, have a good one. Bye now.